In 2023, the Detroit Lions were considered one of the best teams in the NFL as multiple players went on to have absolutely spectacular seasons. However, though, this offseason, depending upon the rankings and depending upon who you talk to, you might not get that vibe. We're going to talk about it in this episode, folks, so stay tuned.
What are we? What makes us what we are and what we're going to be? It's grit. It's what we started with last year, guys. Doesn't matter if you have one ass cheek and three toes. I will beat your ass.
Can definitely compete with the big dogs.
10-5 end zone touchdown Detroit Lions.
You guys are unbelievable, man. I'm telling you.
We are driven by Detroit.
Hello, Detroit Lions fans, and welcome on back to yet another episode of MCM Motor City Mania. I'm your host, David T. Pike, and as always, we're diving on in. So we've officially now kind of taken a break from training camp. The next training camp date is not officially until August 11th. Obviously, we're going to have some other stuff that goes on in between those dates, but I figured that now this is kind of a time to start talking about some other stuff that's kind of been going on that may not be related 100% to training camp, but might have some tie into it. So this is what this episode is, because I'm going to be honest with y'all. I'm a diehard Lions fan. And as such, I am very, very protective of my Lions. I am very protective of them, especially when I have people that either, one, claim to be Lions fans, or two, they claim to understand football, they claim to know football, and then they speak out of the place where the sun doesn't shine, and it looks like they don't know a damn thing about football. And for me, this entire offseason, I was under the belief that I was like, hey, you know what? 2023, Detroit Lions, they go 12-5. They get all the way to the conference championship game. They're this damn close to getting to a Super Bowl. And then you take a look at all the players that we had on our roster that absolutely had just magnificent seasons. And it's just like, I thought that, hey, you know what, we're going to get a lot of accolades this offseason. It's like, hey, you know what, a lot of these players are going to be highly ranked. A lot of these players are going to get a lot of accolades. We're not going to hear a whole bunch of bull crap about our team or about decisions that are going on. I thought we were about to have a really great offseason full of a lot of hype, a lot of anticipation, and that's what I was expecting. But I'm going to say this. The funny thing is that while there has been some of that, there's been still quite a lot of disrespect. There's been quite a lot of absolute bullcrap that has been given to the Detroit Lions still. And I just don't get it. I don't understand how a team that over the last 3 years has clearly risen up the ranks, not only in terms of what they've been able to accomplish, but just the sheer amount of talent, especially young talent that's on this team, continues to get so overlooked, so disrespected when it comes to certain aspects of football. Now, understand something. I'm not saying that this is in every single aspect of football. Obviously, there are people out there that truly believe the Lions are going to do great things, and I've talked about them. But there are other people out there that are just as highly well known, some of them not as much, but they still are out there, and they will say stuff, and it's like, dude, I don't understand where in the hell you're getting this from. It makes no logical sense. And the fact of the matter is, some of the times people are basing this off of what they think is going to happen. They're basing it off of a faith, or they're basing it off of an expectation, rather than what has currently happened. And again, that to me makes no sense and is not a smart way to do business, because it's like, listen, things in the NFL can literally change in an instant. They can change on a dime. So it's like, if you want to start talking about stuff that you expect to happen like 2, 3, 4, 5 years down the road, that's a dangerous way to do business, because things can change drastically in the course of a couple of months, let alone a year. But that's what we're going to talk about in this episode, because over the course of this offseason, the amount of disrespect, the amount of people who have literally said a whole bunch of nonsense about the team, about how our team has been ran, and certain players on our team, I absolutely just can't stand it. Let's go down some of the things that have happened. First and foremost, obviously, a lot of this offseason has been focused on Jared Goff. Everybody knows this. But it's not necessarily about Jared Goff, the player. It's Jared Goff's contract that's gotten a lot of the context here. And as soon as Jared Goff signed that contract, that 4-year, $212 million contract, oh, good Lord. The amount of people that literally lost their crap thinking that the Lions had overpaid him, thinking that the Lions were stupid for giving him the amount of money they did, and all the other stuff they gave, they literally came out of the woodwork. The funny thing about it is that ever since that contract has been signed, the contract has continued to look better and better and better. And this contract literally was only signed 2-3 months ago? And yet, within that 2 to 3 month span, the contract has gotten so much better from when it was originally signed because of all the other guys that have signed contracts, which have continually pushed down the value of what that contract was in retrospect to the guys that were at the top in front of Jared Goff at that time. But the one person that stood out the most was Seth Walder. This was a guy on ESPN. I actually made a video about this. It was a rather large video, but this goes back about, I think, maybe a month or two. He came out and he made a statement stating that he said the Lions had a horrible offseason and he based it primarily off of the Jared Goff contract, which to me I thought was absolutely stupid. It's like, dude, you're going to base your entire belief of the Lions offseason just off of the fact that the Lions gave Jared Goff a massive contract to be the franchise quarterback, which anybody who already had known this was like, dude, this is just adding on to what we already know. This isn't changing anything. It's just locking Jared Goff in long term. But Seth Walder completely dismissed everything else. The fact that we'd signed, DJ Reader, the fact that we'd gotten Kevin Zeitler, the fact that we had drafted Terrion Arnold, the fact that we drafted Rakestraw. He dismissed everything else and said because of that one extension, it completely negated practically the whole offseason. And I'm just like, dude, that's absolutely stupid. That is a absolutely horrendous thing to say because it's like, if you're going to base an entire offseason off of one move, especially when the one move is to lock a quarterback who over the last 3 years has literally been one of the most productive quarterbacks in the NFL, then I'm sorry, you're a moron. If you honestly believe that that kind of a contract is going to hurt the Detroit Lions when Brad Holmes is the one that handed it to him, and Brad Holmes is literally with the likes of, freaking Chris Spielman, with freaking, Sheila, Dan Campbell, and all the other people that are in the cap room, and it's like, dude, if you honestly think that Brad Holmes is going to completely destroy the team by handing out one contract, you're nuts. The reason why I know this is because that entire offseason that he's wanted to continue to say that we sucked up, that we destroyed. Oh, that's right. How many contracts have we handed out this year? Let's see. We handed out Penei Sewell's contract, which was a 4-year, $112 million contract. We handed out Amon-Ra St. Brown's contract, which was a 4-year, $120 million contract. Obviously, Jared Goff's contract was 4-year, $212 million. And we just extended freaking Taylor Decker to a 3-year, $60 million contract. All grand total, the Lions have spent $500 million this offseason extending core players. So you're really going to try and tell me because of that one move, yep, that completely negates the whole offseason. Bull crap. But that's only when we're getting started. Then, again, like I just said, Jared Goff has been over the last 3 years one of the best quarterbacks statistically in the NFL. And if you go to 2023's production, he was one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. But there have been several people from several outlets, ESPN primarily, but other places like CBS, PFF, and others that have stated that Jared Goff is not the best quarterback in the NFC North. And I'm just sitting here scratching my head like, how? How in the hell can you say he's not the best quarterback in the NFC North? It's like, dude, Jared Goff had the best production last year in the NFC North. Jared Goff got farther than any quarterback in the NFC North, not only in terms of regular season wins, but also into the playoffs. And Jared Goff has the best supporting cast around him out of all the quarterbacks in the NFC North. But yet somehow, you've got these dodo brains like Mina Kimes, who I also made an episode about, and I also made an episode about that talking about Woodward Sports siding with her, which again, I thought was stupid. And I'm going to put the link to that episode at the top as well. But again, you have all these people that have wanted to say Jared Goff is not the best quarterback in the NFC North. I don't understand that. I seriously don't get that. For a guy that has Sam Laporta, Jameson Williams, he also has Amon-Ra St. Brown, he has Jahmyr Gibbs, he has freaking David Montgomery, he has the best offensive line in all football and the best offense coordinator. Somehow this guy's not the best quarterback in the NFC North. And again, talking to some other people, he's not even in the top 3 quarterbacks in the entire NFC. So again, I don't understand that. That to me is just absolutely ridiculous. Again, the sheer amount of ridiculous nonsense that is thrown to Jared Goff's direction just because there are people who simply do not want to admit that Jared Goff is that good is absolutely bewildering. It's like they are so afraid that if they admit Jared Goff is good, that they are going to admit that they're wrong. And it's like, dude, you've already been wrong. We're just waiting for you to actually acknowledge it. But there are some people out there that are so damn freaking thick-headed, they're so stubborn, they refuse to do it. And it's like, whatever, you can continue to hang behind and look silly. But again, that's not where this ends. Okay, I'm going to say this right now. I know there are a lot of people that watch my content, that watch a lot of sports content, and watching the content, I know for a fact that they play Madden. I've played Madden my whole life. Ever since I was a little boy, I was 6 years old playing Madden, 1999 on my dad's PlayStation 1. I have played every single Madden every single year. And I've loved Madden for most of the time. There have been quite a couple of games I was rather disappointed, but that's another topic. The point of the matter is that when Madden 25 was coming out, I was like, okay, the Detroit Lions last year, like I said, one of the best teams in all of football, had one of the best seasons, and a lot of players that did absolutely well. But my God, the Madden ratings are absolutely loony bin. They're crazy. They are so disrespectful to so many different Lions players. It's not even funny. Again, let's go back to Jared Goff here before I end this whole thing on Goff. Jared Goff was ranked number 82 out of all quarterbacks in the game. If I recall correctly, Jared Goff's not even in the top 10 of quarterbacks according to Madden ratings. And there are guys like Kirk Cousins, who didn't play most of last year, Aaron Rodgers, who didn't play pretty much all of last year, and Jalen Hurts, who was absolute booty cheeks last year. And freaking Jalen Hurts is still an X factor. So you're trying to tell me that Jared Goff, who had the second most passing yards last year, was top 10 in freaking, passer rating, and also top 5 in passing touchdowns, is lower than Kirk Cousins, who didn't play a whole lot last year, Rodgers, who played, 2 or 3 downs, and Jalen Hurts, who had worse statistics than him. You're trying to tell me, EA, that Jared Goff is not a top 10 quarterback, or is not ranked higher than those bozos. Wrong. Chad Johnson, Chad Ochocinco, you need to get this thing fixed. But that's not where it ends. Let's take a look at the running back situation. Let's take a look at Jahmyr Gibbs. Jahmyr Gibbs is ranked 84 in the game. You want to know who's directly in front of him? DeAndre Swift. Our former DeAndre Swift. Mr. China Doll Swift. He's ranked 85. How in the hell does that happen? Just because DeAndre Swift had one 1,000-yard season, he's all of a sudden an 85 overall running back? Crazy. Then you take a look at Sam Laporta. Sam Laporta, who by far had a top 5, top 3 season production-wise last year as a tight end, behind TJ Hawkinson, behind Evan Ingram, and a couple of other guys. It's like, how the hell does that make any sense? I like the fact that Laporta's ranked 86, but he should be ranked higher, or those guys should be ranked lower. And then, the one that kind of just blows my mind, other than the whole other guys, especially the Jared Goff one, is Aleem McNeil. Aleem McNeil is an 80 overall in the game. How in the hell? How in the literal hell can you make that justification, EA? How? And I'm going to tell you why this makes no sense. And this is going to tie into everything here really quickly. So first and foremost, like I said, let's consider the facts here to tie in the whole thing I talked about with Jared Goff. Jared Goff last year had the second most passing yards. He had the 7th highest completion percentage rate. He had the 4th most passing touchdowns. He had the 9th best passer rating. He had the 11th best QBR. If you go to the PFF website, he had the 5th best passing grade out of all quarterbacks, and he had the 10th best offensive grade out of all quarterbacks. Plus, on top of that, like I said, he had a division title, he had 2 playoff wins, and he had an NFC Conference Championship game appearance. But yet, Jared Goff's not the best quarterback in the NFC North. Jared Goff's not top 10 in EA in terms of quarterbacks. And Jared Goff is getting a whole bunch of flack from certain people because of the contract he got. Yet, from every single parameter, whether it's analytics or just stat production, Jared Goff earned everything he got and should have gotten more in terms of the respect that he's not getting. Oh, and by the way, just to end that whole thing off, last year, according to FTN, the Detroit Lions had the 7th best pass DVOA with a 26.7%. So I'm hearing top 10s across the board. But yet, Jared Goff's not considered a top 10 quarterback, according to Madden, and Jared Goff's not considered the best quarterback in the NFC North, according to Mina, according to Easy, according to ESPN, according to a whole bunch of people. Okay, let's take a look at Jahmyr Gibbs. Jahmyr Gibbs last year, for his rookie season, he was the third best running back in terms of average per carry. He had a 5.2 average per carry. 5 yards on average a carry. That's almost unheard of. He was the second best running back in terms of big plays, which are plays of 20 yards or more. He had 10 of them last year. And he had the 8th most rushing touchdowns out of all running backs last year. Oh, and then think about this. He was also top 20 in rushing yards. Then when you flip over to the passing yards that he picked up, he was 15th in terms of receiving yards out of running backs. He was tied 18th in receiving average out of running backs. And he was 18th in terms of receiving percentage or reception percentage. So again, top 20 or top 10, top 5 in most of the categories. His all-purpose yards was almost 1,300 last year. But yet, somehow, DeAndre Swift is in front of him, yet DeAndre Swift does not have nearly the same amount of production in terms of rankings overall compared to freaking Jahmyr Gibbs. The only thing where he's better at is primarily the amount of rushing yards he has, which is barely like maybe an extra 70, 80 more. And Jahmyr Gibbs didn't play most of the first third of the season. So yeah, again, explain that one to me, EA. Oh, and then let's move to Sam Laporta here, because again, I'm just having fun with this. Sam Laporta, like I said, last year, as a rookie tight end, he was like top 5, top 3 for most of his production stats. Take a look at this. He had the 4th most receiving receptions out of all tight ends. He had the 5th most receiving yards out of all tight ends. He had the 8th highest receiving average out of all tight ends. He was tied 11th for reception percentage out of all tight ends, and he had the most touchdowns out of all tight ends. You take a look at his PFF analytics, he was 4th in terms of overall offense for all tight ends in terms of grading, and he was the 4th best tight end in terms of receiving grading. So again, you're talking about a guy who, according to the analytics, according to the stats, is a top 5, top 3 tight end, but yet he's got guys that are well in front of him that don't even come close. Explain that one to me, because again, that one is just bewildering. And like I said, there's Aleem McNeil. Now, Aleem McNeil, like I've said before in a past episode, doesn't have the statistical production. No. That doesn't appear that much. But you want to know what does appear? The analytics. According to the analytics, again, according to PFF, Aleem McNeil is the 5th best defensive interior lineman in terms of defensive grade. He is the 4th best interior defensive lineman in terms of run defense grade. And he's also top 20 in terms of defensive lineman in terms of pass rushing grade. And this is out of like 214, 215 defensive interior linemen, folks. Think about that. And somehow Aleem McNeil is an 80 overall in EA. Oh, and if I recall correctly, Aleem McNeil didn't even make the top 100 players. Explain that one to me. Oh, and before I go, let's just give a quick shout out for another player that didn't make the top 100. Where the hell is Frank Ragnow on the top 100? He's the best center in the NFL. He's the best center in EA Madden. It's like, okay, best center in the NFL by a long shot. There's nobody that's better than him. Prior to Jason Kelce retiring, it was Kelce and then Ragnow. Now it's just Ragnow. How the hell does Frank Ragnow not get on the top 100 list? That is just absolutely, dude, that's inexcusable. That is unbelievable. That's what I'm trying to say here. The disrespect that multiple Lions players have been getting, whether it's Frank Ragnow, whether it's McNeil, whether it's Laporta, whether it's Gibbs, whether it's Goff. I mean, you just go down the list. Whether it's guys that are ranked further in front of them or guys that are, not even on the top 100 list. The disrespect that the Lions have gotten this year, despite all of their work that they've put in, is absolutely inexcusable. It's like my freaking thumbnail says. I'm just going to say this one time. It's bullshit. It literally is. The fact that the NFL and the players of the NFL have overlooked, or the people that work with EA have overlooked the Lions as much as they have, I cannot find I can't find an excuse for it. It's ridiculous. This is a travesty. It's outrageous. But I'm going to end the episode because I'm getting all worked up and I need to end it. So with that having been said, I'm going to say thank y'all for watching in another episode of MCM Motor City Mania. If you like what you saw, by all means, I highly encourage y'all to watch the next episode. Also encourage y'all to do one of these three things: like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. If you subscribed in the past and you forgot to do so at the time, or you just subscribed and you not had a chance to do so, I highly encourage y'all to subscribe. But I also encourage y'all, please, make sure you hit that bell notification icon so that way you guys never miss any more content that I push out. Also encourage y'all, please, to share the content with your Lions friends and family members. Share it here on YouTube, share it on Twitter, share it on Facebook, share it anywhere and everywhere you can. The more we share it, the greater the channel has a reach, the greater the channel has a spread, and the more we're able to get people in to watch the content. And with that being said, I hope everyone has enjoyed the content. I hope you all are having a great day. I hope you all got something in your life that makes you happy, makes you smile. God bless, and until the next time we meet, I'll see you all in the next episode.